Hello, everyone, and welcome to Queerly Recommended, the podcast where we recommend the best in queer TV, film, fiction, and more. I'm Kris Bryant, a contemporary romance writer with almost 20 books about women loving women, and my next book comes out May 1st. Today, I will be recommending a Hallmark movie. I know, I can't believe it either.
And I'm Tara Scott. I review queer women's fiction at the Lesbian Review, Smart Bitches Trashy Books, and Lambda Literary. And I will be recommending a queer documentary. If you would like to support our show, we have a Ko-fi link in the show notes. It's a site where people can support their favorite content creators like us. If you'd like to, that's great. If not, absolutely no pressure. But maybe another way to support the show could just be to tell a friend who needs some queer media in their life.
For sure.
So, Kris?
Yes.
You usually read the listener questions.
Yes.
But we got one that when you saw it, you burst out laughing immediately.
Right.
And I didn't know what you were why you were laughing or what it was about. So I figure I'll read the question today. So we have a question from loyal listener, friend of the podcast, Wendy, which just says, nipples or cheese?
Exactly. And I love that. So most people know that I have a Patreon page where the money goes to animal shelters around the world anymore. But this month, for April, Wendy is a patron, and it was her turn. She got to select the charity or the shelter that she wanted, and so they have a wish list. And so what happens is I go in and I use the wish list and I send it directly to Wendy, and then she'll take it in to the shelter.
Mm-hmm.
To the shelter. And that's how we do it. Every month we pick one and we send it to that person and they take it in. So everybody gets to experience it. So anyway, so we did a big list, and and so she got a lot of stuff yesterday on Easter. I guess yesterday, Sunday. And we were still waiting on two things. And I go, you're waiting on nipples and cheese because really, who isn't? That was my text message. Because the shelter had asked for Velveeta, those big blocks of Velveeta cheese, because it's easier to give the animals their medicine in cheese. Because, the pill pockets, some animals don't like pill pockets. And then the nipples, it's just like a little tiny bottle feeder for like little tiny baby animals. And so they had asked for this tiny nipple bottle feed thing with a bunch of different nipples.
Right.
So that was my text today, that she was waiting on those two items. And so nipple or cheese. And so basically, who is it for either one or both, right? So that was a great question. So the answer is both.
Oh my God.
Yes.
Well, you know what? I like to think that's a sign from the universe that we should tell people, donate to your local animal shelter.
Oh, for sure. I mean, like, the shelters here, even where I live, there's so many animals, so many pets that need homes. And so, we try to do the best that we can to help support the animals around. It's a small dent, but, it makes a dent. So that's the important thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. So I need to do a thing before we get started on this podcast.
Okay.
So,
what's your thing?
One of my patrons, one of my friends, Shy, went up to Canada, and I thought she was going to bring you back to me, but instead, look what she brought me. Right?
It's Kraft Smooth Peanut Butter. Did you taste it?
I am doing it live on the podcast.
Oh my God, this exact same peanut butter I put in my smoothie this morning.
Oh, that's amazing. So I haven't opened it yet. So the seal is still on it.
Look at that. Shy's doing the Lord's work.
Right. So here's the interesting thing. You have a super easy peanut butter cookie recipe on this. I'm going to read this off. It says 1 cup of Kraft Smooth peanut butter, a half a cup of sugar, and 1 egg. And that's it. That's the fucking cookie. That's amazing. Yeah. That's amazing.
Yeah.
So anyway, I'm going to taste this.
And then maybe bake some cookies.
And I'm done. Look how I love that. That's like my favorite thing, is the very smooth. Somewhere around here I have a spoon. Like, because who doesn't?
Wait.
What?
Do you not eat chunky peanut butter?
No. Blasphemy. No. I don't do.
What?
No, I'm a smooth, creamy.
It's the most boring texture. That's why I like it in my
No,
smoothies, but not on toast.
Oh, I'll totally. I can't find my spoon, so I'm gonna have to do, what I have.
It's
to do.
also better if you're. You're just gonna stick your finger right in
What
there.
else?
Like
I can't find. I know it's mine. It's all mine. Okay, so
you just. Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna do it. I like it.
Yeah,
I like it.
It's just peanut butter.
I know, but see here, I brought my Jif. So I'm in bed with Jif and Kraft.
Mm-hmm.
They're very similar.
Yeah, I don't find them to be that different either.
Wow, yummy.
I've tried Jif before, and they're just, I don't know, they're basically the same. But Kraft is just the one that we all get here.
Because it has a cute bear. It has 2 bears. Who is not going to buy this over JIF? JIF. If. So,
yeah, kids are supposed to give a shit about the 3 colors on Jif when there's 2 adorable bears.
Right, because even as an adult, I'm going to go for the 2 adorable bears, right? Yes.
It is a queer podcast, after all.
It is. Right. And the bears are queer. They just look queer.
Nah, I was making a bear joke.
Yeah, you were. Forgot. That was pretty funny.
So, Kris.
Yes.
What have you been reading or watching?
Well, I think we all need to discuss Killing Eve, because that was some bullshit, and the whole world is pissed.
Mm-hmm. I have never been so glad to have bailed on a show after the first season. I did watch some kind soul posted to Twitter just the part with them kissing at the end.
Mm-hmm.
So I just watched that and I was like, this is very lovely. And for me, that is where it will end.
I think for 98% of the population, they will forget about the final 2 minutes of that show and just leave it at the kiss, the beautiful kiss at the end.
Mm-hmm.
Because I have been watching the show for 4 years. And you know how I am. So, the first season was, amazing. It was fantastic, the best thing ever.
Mm-hmm.
And, there was a lot of just the undertones, the queer undertones in the first season. Because Sandra Oh came out and she's like, oh, it's not gay. It's not about queerness. That's not what this attraction is. I'm like, okay, whatever. And the second season was great. It wasn't as good as the first, but it was great. Mm-hmm. And the third season was kind of lukewarm. Just, it wasn't great. It was lukewarm.
Yeah.
But I was committed. And then it was like, here's the 4th and final season. So, of course, I had to watch it.
So how was it up until the last episode?
Bad. I didn't really care much for the 4th season.
No.
They brought in characters that I'm sure it's going to, I don't think this is really the end of the whole Killing Eve saga. Somebody said, I was talking to Rachel Lacey, and she said that they're going to be doing a prequel with Caroline. That's what I heard. I don't know if that's, I didn't investigate it, but they brought some characters in that I'm like, why are these characters even in this? They brought in a new killer, 2 new killers in this season, and it was just weird. The whole thing was I wanted it to be done because I wanted them to have their happy ending, and oh my God.
Which they get in the books.
Yes.
Is the thing that's surprising. Why would you take a book with a happy ending and then take it out, especially for television? I would be less surprised if it happened in a film because, sorry, but we don't get happy endings very often for gay ladies in film yet. But, why would... I don't understand it. And especially... Well, I guess there's probably 4 people who weren't paying attention to the Twitter drama or haven't been watching the show. But basically, they kiss, they're together. Isn't this beautiful? They have what is effectively a wedding, is my understanding, only for Villanelle to get killed. In that kind of the way it was described, I'll say in a Twitter thread I was reading, or maybe it was that they were making an analogy to a wedding, because for people who have gotten married, there's this really kind of common part of that day where you just have a moment together where you relax at the end of it all. And there's that relief. And apparently that's when Villanelle gets killed.
I would like to say something. You
Please
are
do.
So wrong. But
I am?
So what happens is there is a wedding.
Whoever.
There's a wedding on this boat, and the 12 is a secret group society, and they hire assassins to kill everybody. And so, like, Eve is out to kill the 12, and so is Villanelle. Like, that is their goal. And so there's this massive wedding going on on this like not a houseboat. It's just a big boat, a yacht type thing. And so the 12 meet down below. The 12 get together, and they find out that the 12 are on this boat. Upstairs, awesome wedding going on. Everybody's loving it. And actually, Eve performs the ceremony because they think that she is like the preacher who is going to marry these people. And now that I think about it, I'm not even thinking, she marries 2 gay guys. And so then there's a celebration upstairs. Everybody's dancing. Eve is up there dancing. She's loving it. And Villanelle is downstairs killing everybody. So she pops up upstairs to the dance, and she sees Eve dancing, and Eve sees her. And so Eve leaves the dance, and then they're like, it's done. Now we can be together. And they kiss. Mwah, mwah, mwah. And then, pow. But here's the beautiful thing. Villanelle actually saves her. Says, get in the water, jump in the water. And so they jump in the water. And then, like, the sniper, who's like 12 miles away in the dark, manages to shoot her several times in the water. You know, I mean, nobody could have made that shot.
No.
Yeah, but she gets shot several times. And so Eve jumps up. You know, she gets back up above water. And she screams. And then Caroline, she's talking in a walkie-talkie, and she's like, it's done. So you know that there's some more shit going on. So I personally, my thing was, I did not think that Caroline made the shot. I think somebody else did. Because there's no way, like I said, that far away, in the dark, in the water, not going to happen. Here's something else. Think about this. I have a lot of issues with this.
Oh.
Well, I mean, for all the things.
Fair.
But just, for all the things. But also, like, we're rooting this serial killer. Like, we're rooting for the serial killer to get together with this intelligence agent, you know? And it's such a weird, like, how did we even, like, she's so likable, and it's so wrong.
But is she a serial killer? Like, is she killing for sport, or is it her job? She's an assassin.
It's both. She does both. She's an assassin, but she'll kill people if they piss her off. Unlike Dexter, who...
Do what you love and you'll never work a day in your life.
Exactly, I guess. But like Dexter, we were all rooting for him, and he was killing people, but he was killing all the bad people.
Yes.
So it's kind of like...
Yes.
It's interesting that, like, as a society, we root that on. And same thing with The Walking Dead. Like, there's a whole thing with Negan and Maggie. And Negan had killed Maggie's husband, but the whole world wants to get them together now. Like, they forgot that he killed her husband in front of her with a bat. Like, I don't forget things like that. I'm not going to, like, hook up with somebody who, like, just killed the love of my life. It's not going to happen.
No, that is a fair point. And I mean, I get what you mean. Like, Villanelle is not...
She's...
Oof.
Yeah.
She is absolutely... She
hilarious.
Is a criminal.
Yeah.
She does some pretty reprehensible things. But also, I still think it's... You can't have that... Like, they put the kissing in just to have the bury your gaze.
Right.
Like, and especially given backlash against any bury your gaze story isn't dying down.
Right.
It's people are continuously more vocal about it. And it felt, in this case, kind of needless.
Yeah, for sure.
Like, couldn't she have just stopped assassinating people? Like, couldn't she have just, that's just not her job anymore?
I think she tried it and it didn't work. Like, then she started killing for sport. That's what happened in this season. She went away, I think, some religious camp, I guess I want to say, and she got tired of everybody, so she killed them. So, I mean, I'm laughing, but, you know, she's not a good person, but
no.
Psychopath really doesn't have much of a heart, you know, it just, and so I think Eve's the first person that actually broke through and made her think, like, hey, maybe there is hope for me, and so that they built on that hope. And then they just shredded us at the end. It was unnecessary.
Yeah. Well, in conclusion,
That sucked.
Fuck you, whoever made that choice.
I know. Not happy with you.
Oh, well, did you watch any of the interview clips with the two actors?
Oh.
I saw one in particular where Jodie Comer, well, they both did, but Jodie Comer especially looked really nervous about what the audience reception was going to be. Like, I think they just knew people love these characters so much that, this is going to be a hated ending. People are not going to care for the way this ended. And she was right.
She was right. Because she knew. She knew this was wrong.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
She knew this was wrong.
Well, have you been watching anything else?
I have been writing like the wind because I have a deadline coming up. So I haven't really been watching a lot. I mean, I have like American Idol on, sort of kind of watching that. I started Halo, the series. I think it's on Paramount Plus.
Everything is on Paramount Plus these days.
I know, except then they take them off, so fuck them. They took off Australian Survivor, which I loved. It's so much better than the American one. We talked about this. And they still haven't put it back on. And I'm mad. I'm still mad.
You, my friend, need to look into a VPN so you can watch whatever you want from wherever in the world.
Okay. Maybe I will. But then will I ever write? Like if I get down that rabbit hole, I'll never.
VPNs are fake. Don't do it. They're just like NFTs. It's all going to explode. Keep writing.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, so I only watched 2. So here's the deal. So like with Halo, because I did not play the game, but I started watching it. And I watched like the first episode. I was like, oh, this is really cool. I think I'm going to like this. But there's so much information. There's like a dump of like who these people are and stuff. So it's like I have to actually pay attention. So I had to like bail on that after the second episode until I get to the point where I can actually watch a show again without... Like American Idol, I can listen to people sing. It's no big deal. Yeah. Anyway, my gosh, I feel like I've been talking this whole time. What about you? What have you been reading or watching?
Drag Race, RuPaul's Drag Race. Always. It's the only thing I'm religious about anymore. So season 14 is almost over. The winner will be crowned by the time this episode goes up. I don't actually know who I want to win. I almost don't care.
Wow.
And not in the same way. Do you remember with UK versus the World when I was like, I don't care who wins because I don't give a shit about any of these people. It's the opposite of that. So they actually have a top 5, which is kind of interesting. They've never had a top 5 before. There's 4 that I like much better than one of the other ones. But honestly, any of them could take it.
And you'd be okay with it.
I would be happy.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think they're just all so good for such different reasons, but I think I kind of actually want Lady Camden to win, which is a big surprise for me. She's British, but has been living in the US for a long time, I think for like 10 years or something like that, but was one of those contestants that she was just treated almost like a filler queen. Nobody thought she was going to go anywhere. She was going to be gone mid-season, and then she just like kicked ass along the way and won the most challenges and was like just a sleeper, incredible. So good. So I'd kind of like her to win because I think that would be a great story. But if any of the other ones did, that would be fine. Of course, we can't go for longer than a week without a Drag Race season happening. And so they have announced the cast.
Oh, that's right. I think I tagged you on that. Somebody posted it and I was like, hey, Tara, did you see this?
Yes. So they've announced the cast for RuPaul's Drag Race All-Stars 7, and I'm very excited because it is an all-winners season. So it's all queens who are previous winners of the series. Honestly, like, I'm excited about everyone. There's some that I'm more excited about than others, but all the queens that are selected are so good, so stunning, super talented. The 2 that I'm most excited to see is Raja, who won in season 3. So that was a long time ago. And Jinx Monsoon, who won in season 5. Also a long time ago. They've had a lot of time to just continue to refine and grow in their craft. And I want to see what they bring now compared to where they were at more than a decade ago. That's probably the thing I'm most excited in media at the moment. I've started watching Queer Eye again because I seem to only watch it whenever I'm migraine-y, which unfortunately has been lately. It's like the perfect gentle thing to put on while I'm like, ow, my head. I'm in season 5. which is in Philadelphia.
Okay. I saw that. I saw season 5.
I feel like it was quite rude for them to do the episode with the gay minister from the Lutheran Church, only to end it. Well, first of all, that episode was wonderful. He was beautiful. His journey was wonderful. I hope at some point along the way, when they spent their week with him, that they talked to him about the fact that you can go for therapy for religious trauma, because he clearly needed it. And as someone who has gone for therapy for religious trauma, it's fucking great. Highly recommend. Highly recommend. If you, like me, like that pastor, grew up in an evangelical tradition and it like fucked with your brain and your self-worth and all of it, find a therapist who can help with that. It will be the best money you will spend in the whole of your life. But we watched that and I'm feeling all of these feelings. And he says this beautiful speech where he tells his story to everybody who's there for the 125th anniversary. And then they're like, hey, we want to introduce you to this dog. And then they did an in memoriam for the dog Bruley who was there in the last 2 seasons. And I was like, how very fucking dare you guys? How dare you? Like the ultimate 1-2 punch. Hey, you're feeling all these like complicated feelings about this wonderful pastor and his journey and what he's going through. But also the dog died. So rude. They could have just let me, because I was like, I wonder, and I was wondering, I was like, I wonder where Bruley is. And I thought, oh, well, maybe his mom went to work on another show. Nope, not the case. But speaking of Queer Eye, I have been listening to Jonathan Van Ness's memoir that's called Over the Top, A Raw Journey to Self-Love, and it's very good. It's very, very good. I got it in audio from the library. I super recommend it, especially in audio, because it's just him telling his story. And it sounds very conversational, very like his style when you see him on any kind of an interview or on Queer Eye or anything. He's not lying when he says that it's raw. He does not get into details, but does reference the fact that he was molested when he was a kid by another kid. Like a somewhat older kid than him when he was quite little, and how, the police got involved at one point and all that talk. He talks about addiction in his teens, some of the sketchy, I think he would probably describe as somewhat sketchy sex that he experienced as he was trying to figure himself out. The point at which I just stopped, which I think is not even halfway, he talks about when he was in college and started sex work as a way to pay some bills, because he didn't want to ask his mom to like pay for extra stuff. He got kicked out of campus housing. And so like it has some really serious stuff in there. Yeah. It's so good though to hear, like, because he doesn't just talk about that, but he also reflects on like, and in therapy I learned that this behavior is this, or like that kind of like making those connections. And I can tell it's one of those books that has probably helped many, many people. It's definitely, I would say it's worth the time checking out. And he has a new book out that I think I'm going to check out after this, because I'm enjoying this one so much.
Nice.
So Kris, what is your official recommendation this week?
This is so exciting. Okay, so I was a little stressed. Like, what is happening? What am I going to do? What am I going to recommend? I've been so busy writing. And then I remembered that Hallmark was airing an LGBTQ movie. And it was last night. It's a movie called Love, Classified. Love, Classified. And it's a real short, here's the little blurb. Romance novelist Emilia, her name is Emilia Bloom. They forget to say that. That's important in the story. Romance novelist Emilia returns home after a long absence to reconnect with her children, who also are finding their own paths to love. They are older. They are living their life. They're probably in their 30s. So let's start at the beginning, shall we? It starts off, and Emilia Bloom, who's played by Melora Hardin, she's from The Office. That most people would probably know her from The Office.
Oh, okay.
She's like one of the bosses on The Office. But she is a New York Times best-selling author. And so she's on this massive, huge book tour, and so she adds her hometown as the last stop, and this gives her time to try to reconnect with her children. She has 2 kids. She has a daughter, Taylor, played by Catherine McNamara, who owns a plant store. It's an actual plant store. It's not like a flower shop. It's a plant store.
Mm-hmm.
And it's called Bloomeria. Taylor, Bloomeria. Total Hallmark. I mean, this thing is covered with cheese, but I loved every freaking minute of it.
That's such a
I know.
bad store name.
I know. Yeah. So, and her son, Zach, he's an artist. And so he is trying to come up with the design to help the local bookstore called Between Two Covers is the name of the bookstore.
That's cute.
And so he's going to paint this mural. And so he's trying to figure out, what is he going to paint? And so he keeps going back like, here, I want to do this. And they're like, nope, we don't like it. And so it's just like the whole thing. It's so cute how the whole thing comes full circle. I loved it. It was I just enjoyed it so much. So where it comes, Love Classified, it's basically, there's a digital app. Digital app. It's just an app. And it's called Classified. Right. And what it is it does everything. It helps people who have businesses, how do I want to say this? Like market their business to other businesses. Plus it also is like a dating app, and it does everything for this little town. I think this town's called Penfield. And, of course it's the quaint little perfect town. And, there's like a flower shop and a coffee shop, and not a flower shop, a plant shop. Ooh, look at me.
Bloomeria.
Bloomeria, and the bookstore and the coffee shop. Anyway, so what happens is Emilia, her husband, died 5 years ago. And so rather than deal with it, she left. She just went away. Left for 5 years, didn't really talk to the kids at all. And how she explained it is just like she was just trying to self-heal. And she didn't want her children to see the pain. But they saw her as running away. Mm-hmm. And so it was her job to like reconnect with her children. So back to this app, this Classified. This is really cute. So like at Bloomeria, there's Taylor, and then there's Hannah, the worker. She's younger. She knows how to do everything. She can multitask. She knows how to use the app and use different things. And like she blows her boss's mind all the time. And Hannah encourages her boss, Taylor, to like throw something up on the app, and maybe like for both business and personal reasons. So she does the business thing, and then when she goes home, she decides to throw up. She decides to
she just vomits all over.
She just vomits all over. So I'm trying to think. Rooting for you is her handle. Rooting for you. And so there's I know. I'm not kidding you. This is cheese, and everybody loved it. Like Twitter was so alive because Emilia, Melora, she actually live tweeted the whole time. So like so many of us were like on it. We were like responding, and it was just so much fun. It's always fun when they do that.
Yeah. She
starts talking to somebody. The heart is a muscle that requires exercise is their handle. And so she starts talking, and their name is Frankie. And so she starts talking to Frankie, and they have this really great relationship, on the app. And they decide to meet at the coffee shop. So she goes into the coffee shop, and she's looking around, and they're, all pretty people. And she's like, I don't know who Frankie is. And so she goes to this guy, and she's like, are you Frankie? And he's like, no. And, and so,
oh no, she thinks she's meeting a man, doesn't she?
She thinks she's meeting a man. So then Frankie is really Dr. like Francesca, I can't remember her last name, but it's played by Ari Mandy, who played Danny in the L Word Generation Q.
No.
Like my favorite character. I was like,
meant to be.
I knew this movie was coming out, but I didn't really study the cast. I kind of wanted to be surprised, just be like, pretend I turned on Hallmark and here's this gay movie because all the movies are gay. So this is great. So when I saw her, I was like, oh my God, Danny.
Yeah.
So I was super excited about that. So Taylor, she's like, okay, so maybe I should take a chance and see where this relationship goes. Has never actually been into women, but only because nobody's ever really interested her. But Frankie interests her.
Mm-hmm.
Their relationship is very prominent, and she also has a best friend who's gay. And it turns out that do I give things away or not? Can I give things away? Should I?
What do you want to do?
I don't really want to give too much away. But anyway, so it's really cute. No. So we jump into their lives, and it's fast paced, and it's interwoven so well. Like the storyline is so cute and so well written. Mm-hmm. Like who says that about Hallmark? That the 2 hours flew by. I was
it was like, 2 whole hours?
It was, I think so, with commercials and stuff. It was 2 hours. Okay. And it's so cheesy and Hallmarky. But you end up with that smile. You have that smile on your face, and you're like, God, I hope nobody sees me, you know, because it's so bad. And you're just like, it's like when my sister reads a book, and she gets to the end, and I'm looking at her, and she's got the weirdest, cheesiest grin on her face, and I'm like, ha ha. And so that's kind of how you leave the movie. It's so adorable, and it's a shit ton better than the Happiest Season. I mean... Right? I know. I'm just saying, if you want a really cute queer story that actually has a lot of meat to it, there's a lot going on in this story, and it was just so good. I think we all need a nice romance, especially after the Killing Eve bullshit.
Right.
I needed a happy ending, so I went from like fuck everything, I hate everything, blah blah blah, and then I'm like, I'm gonna watch this Hallmark movie, and I was like, haha, I love love again. It still exists. I'm going to keep writing it. That was my outtake. I loved it. I thought it was great. I recommend it. I think you can find it online, hallmark.com. Like, it was like the main channel. It wasn't like an offshoot, like, oh, go to this Hallmark, kind of like off Broadway. It wasn't like that. It was like the main channel. Like moms everywhere, straight moms everywhere. They got to see this movie.
I'm going to try to find it. I don't know if it's possible to get in Canada, but I'm going to see what I can do because
You should. It's really, see it. Yeah, and here's the deal. Like, they had really good actors, and the acting was spot on. It wasn't, like, over the top. How sometimes Hallmark is cutesy, dimpley and stuff, and, oh, imagine you're here. It's not like that. Like, there is, like, some meat to this, because they had some really good actors in this movie. So, I highly recommend it. That's my recommendation this week. What about you, Tara? What's your recommendation?
Okay, so... I feel like this is almost like a meta recommendation because I recommend a film that you recommended to me. You had watched it. I think it was this week that you watched it, right?
Yes.
And you texted me and you were like, oh my God, I watched this documentary. You got to watch it. It's like they made it for you. And I started watching it. I'm like, I don't know. And then I kept watching it. I was like, oh my God, it's like they made it for me.
It's amazing. It is an amazing documentary. And I'm so excited you made this your recommendation.
Yes. So it came out in 2016 and it is called Queercore. Now, is it available on any streaming services in Canada? No. But is it also available on YouTube? Yes. So thank you, whoever uploaded it to YouTube, because I absolutely wanted to watch it on a legit platform and it wasn't possible. And also, I think it's a bit rude given how Queercore came about in the first place. It should be available in Canada.
Right.
So.
Right. Toronto. Woohoo.
Right. So it is about. So Queercore is basically an offshoot of punk music featuring LGBTQ people. And where it all really started, if I'm recalling correctly, because I watched bits of it kind of over a couple of days, but like it started in the 1980s, and it was after talking about how I really like how when it was grounding kind of where it started, it featured Jane County, showing her from the 1970s. She was a punk singer with a band. I forget her band's name, but went by. And you can still, when you're looking up her music, it's easier to find if you look up Wayne County, which I know is her dead name, but also is kind of used interchangeably when talking about her in this period of time. Mm-hmm. But talking about how that first wave of punk, that there was, quite a bit of queerness to it. And they kind of held her up as the great example. And I think, when you and I were talking about this last year, when I was looking into the history, especially of that first wave of punk, you have like Lou Reed, who's openly bisexual and was dating a trans woman at one point. You have the New York Dolls, who, like, I'm sorry, but look at any photo of them together and like the makeup and the looks just all looked very, very queer. And then there was that second wave that came through with more of, it was harder. It was kind of more of that like DIY style music because the mainstream music industry didn't want anything to do with them. And as much as like punk was supposed to be like, no, we're anarchists and fuck you and we do what we want, there was also this very but no homos. Like, it's like, excuse me?
The second
like,
wave, yeah.
There's no rules
Macho.
except if you're a dude, you better not suck another dude's dick. Like, what? Pardon? Like, that sounds kind of like rules and constraints.
Right.
And so there were these two people out of Toronto, so Bruce LaBruce and GB Benson, who basically got together and said, gosh, it would be great if there was a queer punk scene. Let's make a zine about it, and then maybe the scene will follow. And they basically took a fake it till you make it approach of a punk offshoot, and it fucking worked. Which just, like, blows my mind. It's so cool. And there's a lot of, so, first of all, if you haven't guessed, this is not a safe documentary for kids.
Right. No.
At all. It shows a lot of photos or like scans of some of those old zines, and there's just like dicks all over the place.
Right.
I actually found there wasn't that much female nudity. But anyway, like there's a lot of nudity, a lot about sex, because that's kind of the point.
Right.
For some of it, like if it's going to be about queerness, we're going to make it about our sex because you're trying to tell us to sort of keep that hidden away. And it was really interesting, I thought, kind of near the beginning, because it wasn't just them. They were also showing clips of the artist Penny Arcade. They had John Waters speak about it as well. This idea that straightness is not necessarily a sexual orientation, which I think for me was the first, like, my mind was blowing kind of thing. Because they were talking about how it was a time when more and more LGBTQ people felt comfortable coming out, but there was also this, but there's a right way to be gay. And there's a right way to be queer in public, and you need to behave. And like, if we're going to be able to make gains, we all need to behave. And there's these queer punks that are like, fuck you. We've been out all along. We've been fighting all along. We've been punk all along. And you're going to tell us how to be queer? You're just as straight as all the heterosexual people. And John Waters talking about how, like, for him, because he wasn't interested in that. He wasn't interested in conformity. And he would find it easier and more desirable to go pick up men at a punk bar than a gay bar. Even though he knew not all the men there would be punk, but they would be more open-minded. Or sorry, not that they would all be gay, but that they would be more open-minded. I found that so fascinating. And then I also, so that part I thought was really interesting. And then when I was like, oh God, okay, here I am. Here's what I was looking for. Because back last year when I was trying, because I had this, like, these little inklings, like I said, with Lou Reed, with Jane County, with the New York Dolls and all these things where I'm like, well, surely there seemed to be some intersection with, like, queerness and punk, but, like, I couldn't quite put it together, and I didn't have anybody who could put it together for me. And seeing that, like, as much as this is about, it was called homocore at first, so as much as it was about homocore, then later called queercore, it also has this deep intersection with Riot Grrrl music, because they are directly contemporaneous. They're happening at the same time. Kathleen Hanna from Bikini Kill is in it, talking about how she was directly, incredibly influenced by GB Benson and Bruce LaBruce and their publications and their films. And then hearing about how Kurt Cobain was also influenced by that. And I was like, oh! Like, my little 15-year-old self freaked out a little bit. And I even teared up, like, when it started playing. It was a clip. I don't know if it was, I can't remember if it was from a music video or, like, concert footage of Hole playing the song Olympia. Because that's a song that, like, I'm a teenager when I hear it. Like, you just can't avoid it. But so brilliant is Kathleen Hanna saying, well, I saw what they did, and I kind of did the same thing. And so she made Riot Grrrl a thing because she just talked about it. And she got interviewed at this, like, national level publication where she's like, the Riot Grrrl movement's happening all across the U.S. And she names, like, a bunch of cities, and she's like, I made it all up. Right. But then it happened.
It happened, exactly.
And
that's
so
amazing.
For me, the fact that it happened not once, but twice, and the one directly influencing the other, was so brilliant. And I think the thing that I appreciate about this that I haven't been able to get out of other punk documentaries, which, to be fair, is mostly because it was released in 2016. And so it's newer than some of the other ones. Like Punk Attitude is a fantastic one. If you want to get a sense of the punk movement from like the very roots to like 2010. But I had been very much like okay, but then what happened? And the thing that I like about this film is that it gives the what happened. And like, no, it's not around in quite the same way anymore. But you see it come out with like Beth Ditto and Gossip, who started out very punk, even though they're kind of more poppy, disco-y now, according to what they said. I haven't actually listened to them. And they also talked to Peaches, who, it's funny, a few years ago, I had somebody introduce me to Peaches' music as like this, Peaches is over the top. It's so crazy. And it's like, yeah, it's like super, super sexual and it felt almost absurdly so at the time. But watching this documentary, I was like, oh, fuck, I get what Peaches was doing. Peaches was updating Queercore for the time we were in, which was so cool. So, yeah, I loved it. And there was something so interesting about the ending, because I forget who was the guy that got the last word. But he says something along the lines of, I don't know if we need Queercore anymore, but we also shouldn't assume we've arrived. And I found that so powerful to be watching now as Florida has passed their don't say gay bullshit. As so many states are legislating. Texas, many others are putting in anti-trans legislation. And so this was released in 2016. So it was filmed and put together ahead of the election where Trump got in. And to see how in 6 short years, we actually need Queercore now more than ever. We need it to come back, and we need it to come back in a big way. And we need queer people to be loud and brash, and we need to be using our voices and saying, fuck you. We've been here. We're going to be here.
Oh, yeah.
Even if it makes you uncomfortable.
Right.
Oh, I love this. I love this documentary.
I know. I watched it twice.
Did you?
It was brilliant. Yeah, I thought it was brilliant. For sure. I mean, it was like, it talked about a whole cultural movement. I mean, just how to get out, how to go against society's norms, how to like just be loud, like you said, be brass about it, and just like, and like I love the whole, women taking back women, and how the feminists were kind of against the whole riot girl movement because of the whole like, here, suck my dick while I'm on stage, and like that's a rite of culture or rite of passage for some of the fans.
Yeah.
And so all the feminists were getting all up in arms about, you're setting us back however many years. So, I looked at it from like women's standpoint as far as like how far they've come and how feminism, what it really means to different people, different groups of people. So, like for sure we need it. We still need it. It's not done. I think it's always going to be around. Obviously the internet came about and really helped push, I think, for today's time. Back then they did like you said, the photocopies of like these little tiny rags that they created from in their house or whatever. And so now, the internet's here. And so you can reach a lot more people a lot quicker than you could back then. That's so, right. Our obligation, we have to get out there, and it's okay to be queer.
Hell yeah. Maybe write to your legislator. Maybe buy a queer book. Maybe or donate to the ACLU.
3,000. Yeah, exactly. Do it all. Do everything.
Yep. All right. That is all for this episode. Thank you so much for joining us. If you've enjoyed the show, please make sure you subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts so you'll get notified when we release an episode. And like I said before, if you have a friend that you think would like the show, please let them know about it. Because that's literally everything we just talked about is why we are here. We want to connect people to the media that is going to help them feel seen, that is going to help them matter, and we want to support queer content creators.
Right. And if you want to connect with us on your favorite social media sites, just search for Queerly Recommended on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook, or email us at podcast@queerlyrecommended.com. Thank you, and goodbye, everyone.
Goodbye, everybody. God, I had a lot to say about that.
I had so much. I had 4 pages, but I'm like, it's not my recommendation. It's not my
You
recommendation.
took 4 pages of notes on something that's not your recommendation. What did I not say that you would have wanted to say?
No, I just basically when I watched it, I went through just like things that caught my attention. You know, like a secret society, a farce that became real. I mean, just the way they said certain things. Toronto movement invented a whole scene. Behavior was still policed. Gender representation was still policed. They wanted to be a circus, not a church, which I thought was cool. I really liked that.
Oh yeah,
that was a good one.
So good.
Yeah.
I also loved that person talking about how they went to Pride and they went alone. Like they went to San Francisco Pride, basically in search of their people because they didn't have.
Oh
people
yeah. Silas, I think was it Silas?
And just like joined this float that was like, yeah, we're fucking up a police car. That's where I want to be, and then made lifelong friends.
Right.
It's so beautiful.
And they had a picture of that. They still have their picture. I love that.
Yeah.
It was such a good documentary. And I was really surprised about the Green Day. Like,
oh yeah.
There's so much music now that I watch it and I'm like, this, like even Avril Lavigne, she has a new song out.
Yeah.
And it's so still has like little trails of punkdom from, you know, you can certainly tell with her. So it's just like, and Green Day, you know, they were, I think, what's his name? The Billy, he's, I think he's bi, isn't he bisexual? And for them to, I think so. I think he's bisexual. And so for them, they took the punk music and made them their opening acts.
Oh yeah. What were they? The Pansy something or other?
Yeah, something like that. Pansy.
I'm gonna look
Pansies,
it up
yeah,
on
look it up.
Spotify. Yeah, like using, like giving a group like that a platform.
Yeah, exactly.
Pansy
and
Division.
Like just the Pansy Division. There it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it says queer music saves queers. I thought that was really good.
Yes.
It's okay to be queer. Stick to your people, trust them, and stay together. Wait, media hype. Oh yeah, somebody said media hype had to die out in the media. Spice and turn into the Spice Girl. Something weird. I was like, what? No.
Oh, yeah.
So,
they were talking about the Riot Girl movement.
Yes.
And how it kind of like hit its peak and then fizzled out because everybody felt like it was too commercial. Well, no, but it was almost like too commercial. They were turning it almost like media darlings. And then they were replaced by the Spice Girls, which I kind of went, whoa, that
had to hurt.
Interesting.
Well, because it was never about money with them. It was never about money. And like with everybody else since then, it's been about money. Because, you know, I mean, it's just, we've just become that capitalist society where we need money. That's what we just want, money. We think money equals success equals fulfillment, you know, and that's not always the case.
Yeah. Well, and I think your point about about feminism, it was really great, and is that kind of that great reminder that so much of mainstream feminism is about just trying to continue to prop up and give more and more power to straight, white, affluent women who keep saying, just wait your turn and we'll make sure it gets better, but we just need more. And it's like, okay, but what about like the Black women and the trans women and the lesbians and the bisexual women? Like, what about all the BIPOC women? What about all these other? No. We just need more. And it's like, I love that there was this movement that was like, I'm sorry, I literally don't give a shit what you think. I am going to be a lesbian up on the stage and I'm gonna make a straight boy suck my fake dick.
I was like, whoa, when I saw
he really went at it.
He did. Like, he knew what he was doing. I love that.
Enthusiastically.
Here's the deal. If I was like 7 years older, I would have totally been lost in that scene. I would have lost myself to that scene. Yep. I know that I would have. I was like, my best friend in high school, she was so right there. Like she was ahead of her time. You know, she was like into the punk scene. She always did things to her hair and like the Doc Martens and the black leather coats, and she would go, oh, so here's something. Yeah. I went to some event. My best friend Kris, we it was probably like 20, I was probably 25. And so, like, we have this magazine. It's called The Pitch.
Mm-hmm.
And this was back in the day where you'd like go and you'd like every Tuesday you'd go and get this magazine because it had like the best of whatever. And it would have like all these like ads, like just, it was a very young, hip magazine or print newspaper or whatever. And you could find like some really weird concerts that were going on around town. And so there was a house, like in the middle of downtown Kansas City, there was a house. And Kris and I are looking at the address. We're like, what the fuck? This is where this concert is? And so we're like, okay. So we went in and like, there's maybe like, I don't know, 5 people in the whole joint. And there was like no furniture. Like it was just open. The house is all open. And there had like one couch and like, there was like a little tiny bar where somebody was serving drinks. And so Kris and I, of course, and we're like, we'll sit on the couch because that's what you're supposed to do. There's a couch and like, let's sit on it. So there was like this punker that comes up and he's like just screaming in your face, like, and it was just amazing. It was like one of the best concerts I ever went to, and I don't even know what it was. I just know that it was like, it is stuck in my head out of like so many concerts that I've been to in my life. And like, I have gone to some little tiny concerts. I mean, music was my life for a long time. And that concert was just amazing. And Kris and I are just looking at each other like, this is the best fucking thing that's ever happened to us. And to this day, he's still a little like on the edge there. And, you know, I'm more commercialized. Hey, I need some money. You know, I've turned that way. But I think that a long time ago, I think that if I was just like 7 years older, I would have been gone to that movement. I would be somewhere else. I would not be who I am today. For sure. I would have been influenced by it.
If I knew about Riot Girl when I was in high school, because I think a lot of it was kind of contemporary with like exactly when I was in high school in the 90s.
Yeah.
I think I would have had a pretty different life.
Right, for sure. And think if the internet was around back then and you knew about all this stuff, like all this stuff was just like, like you maybe got lucky because you saw it in the back of something somewhere.
Yeah.
And you just happened to see it. It wasn't how it is now. Or like, you know, there's certain bars in Kansas City that have like, you just know there's like alternative music's going to be played there. And you go and you look at like, oh, look at this flyer. This person's going to be here. I think I remember seeing them. And it was just amazing. And so that's what we did. That's what I did in my 20s. I went to all these little concerts and all these like weird, obscure places. And it was amazing. And now I'm just like, oh, fuck, it's 10. I got to go to bed.
Well, on that note, should we stop recording?
Oh, shit. Yeah, we probably should. Okay, we're stopping.
The funny thing is, that all might actually make it in the episode.